The Game Boy. If you grew up with one of these, your childhood was awesome. Long before the Switch and the PSP, it was this little grey brick that was playing with power. Portable power. All the way back in 1989. Not only did it set the standard for portable gaming with titles such as Kirby's Dream World, Super Mario Land, and outrageous Tetris, but it's also a huge seller. So, naturally, there would have been others that would try to either replicate or surpass the Game Boy. While none of them were anywhere near the Game Boy's level, it's actually uncanny how close some of these were. Greetings, fellow gamers. Dave here from Gamers Guff, and these are the top 5 Game Boy clones. Let's dig right in, shall we? Number 5. Tiger Electronic Handheld Games. These guys are pretty low on the list because technically they weren't direct competitors to the Game Boy, but they deserve a mention. Rather than selling one console with interchangeable games, Tiger Electronics sold over 250 different handhelds, each containing a single game, sort of like the equivalent of selling a television set that could only play one specific movie. They were simple, cheap, and practically easy to find in almost every shop. If your parents weren't buying you a Game Boy, there was a good chance they'd buy you one of these instead. I mean, in hindsight, we probably could have read books or, used our imagination instead.
Kill me.
Tiger licensed almost every major franchise imaginable, from Disney to Mortal Kombat to Sonic the Hedgehog. So familiarity definitely played a role in all this. If it was a thing in the 90s, then it was slapped onto a Tiger handheld. It also didn't help that the advertising made them look like the most exciting thing in the world. The angry video game nerd hilariously compared the Tiger handhelds to chickenpox.
They were everywhere, and everybody bought them. Everybody I knew had at least one of these things. On the school bus, people were playing them. At lunchtime, everybody was swapping them around and playing each other's games. It was like chickenpox. We all got it.
There was just one small problem. The gameplay was utterly, ridiculously limited. Instead of smooth animation, characters and elements jumped between pre-drawn positions on an LCD screen. It felt stiff, repetitive, and extremely dull. In a cruel twist of irony, when Tiger made handhelds based on existing video games, they often reminded players of how much better the real versions were. Still, these plastic paperweights did something right, as these things sold well enough to survive all through the 90s, despite fierce competition. If the Game Boy was a steak dinner, then these were basically free breadsticks. Number 4. The Tiger Gamecom. That's right folks, Tiger got its claws deeper into portable gaming than you might think. The Gamecom was a far more ambitious project compared to the LCD handhelds, a proper portable console to rival the Game Boy in 1997. It featured a touchscreen years before Nintendo DS and smartphones. There was even a limited internet access for email. Well, that is assuming you had the patience for dial-up internet. Those were genuinely impressive ideas for the late 90s, practically decades ahead of its time. So, naturally, some things went wrong. The monochrome screen did not have the best quality for the late 90s, and despite having more detailed graphics than the Tiger LCDs, many of the games still felt stiff and awkward. I mean, you might as well be playing the LCD handhelds. At least they're a little more honest about their quality. It also cost about as much as a Game Boy and it didn't get the exact same number of batteries. So yeah, it was pretty much a no-brainer which one was more favorable. Only 300,000 units were sold, making the Gamecom one of the biggest commercial failures of the handheld era. Its innovations were impressive for the time, but I think it's safe to say it should have focused more on quality gaming. Number 3. The Atari Lynx, brought to you by one of the original pioneers of video games, and released at around the same time as the Game Boy. The Atari Lynx looked like the future. It was the world's first handheld with a full-color LCD screen. Its games looked surprisingly close to what players expected from home consoles at the time. You'd think this beauty would go the distance, right? Well, it might have been, if not for two minor drawbacks. One, the price, and two, the battery life.
Well, that's put a crimp on an otherwise damn fine plan.
It was significantly more expensive than the Game Boy and burned through 6 AA batteries in only a few measly hours. Atari tried to redesign the hardware in an attempt to improve things, but it simply wasn't enough. Despite selling around 3 million units, the Lynx was discontinued in 1995. It was a close attempt at matching Nintendo's portable power, but ended up biting off more than Atari could chew. Number 2. The Neo Geo Pocket. This may actually be the best handheld on today's list. Released to compete with the Game Boy Color, the Neo Geo Pocket impressed critics with fantastic controls, excellent battery life, and a library filled to the brim with polished arcade-style games, with quality that actually came close to surpassing the Game Boy. So, what happened?
Timing!
Before it could properly establish itself, the Game Boy Advance had arrived. Suddenly, it wasn't competing with yesterday's hardware anymore. It was a bit like a greyhound arriving for a race only to realize they had already moved on to the next race, which was yesterday, 10 years ago.
No! I slept too long!
It also didn't help that the Neo Geo's library games were nowhere near as vast as the Game Boy. Only around 2 million units were sold. A fantastic console that might have done well if it wasn't so unfashionably late. Number 1. The Sega Game Gear System. If there was ever a handheld console that genuinely threatened the Game Boy, it was this fine beauty. Selling over 14 million units, it became Nintendo's biggest portable rival of the 1990s, essentially adding to the fierce competition between both Sega and Nintendo during the infamous Bit Wars. It featured a beautiful backlit color screen, years before Nintendo offered anything similar. It had an excellent library of games including Sonic the Hedgehog, Shinobi, Gunstar Heroes, and many Master System conversions. It also made a fine addition to Sega's Genesis Does campaign. Remember this commercial?
Whoa. Color.
Yeah, that's not petty at all. But despite everything the Game Gear got right, it still couldn't beat the Game Boy. It was too expensive, larger, bulkier, and guzzled up to 6 AA batteries in only a few hours. So close, yet so far.
You were the chosen one!
Once again, Nintendo wins with convenience and quality. Regardless of all the portable game consoles that try to either match or even surpass the Game Boy, the Sega Game Gear system was certainly a close second. With that said, are there any other handhelds that should have made the list? Or are there any other game consoles that you would like for me to cover next time? Let me know in the comments. Until then, this is Dave from Gamers Guff signing off. See ya! Congratulations, fellow gamers! You've reached the end of the video. Thanks so much for watching and hanging out with us here at Guff Works. If you want more videos about cartoons and or video games like this, then be sure to subscribe and click on the bell so you won't miss what's coming next. We post new videos every 2 weeks on a Sunday, along with new shorts posted every single Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. If you'd like to see more from yours truly, then check out our official webcomic series, Gamers Guff, a sitcom-style comedic slice-of-life adventure abundant with gaming nonsense and questionable decisions, mostly from my brother Ryan. Links in the description. More videos are waiting on the screen, so I'll catch you in the next one. See you then!